Welcome to Wacky Wednesdays, where everyone has a chance to show off their car mods. And here's this week's winner.
Welcome to my 1988 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. I bought this 88 Grand Wagoneer on eBay in 2010. The body and the wheels were in very good condition. No dents, and the paint was a fresh single-stage application. The simulated wood trim and side paneling had been replaced. The dash wasn't cracked, but the instrument bezel was. Seats and carpet were in good shape, but some of the leather inserts on the seats were replaced with vinyl. Rear seat and cargo area were complete except for the metal strips on the tailgate and floor. In the engine compartment, some electrical wiring issues were obvious and the AC hoses were missing. And the air breather tube was also missing. The smog pump was not operational, and all of the options except the rear window wiper were on the Jeep. So, what kind of engine? Well, I had to decide what kind of engine to put in the Jeep, but eventually I narrowed it down to a Generation 4 5.3 liter with a 6L80 automatic transmission. I found this one on eBay out of a brand new 2010 Silverado. There had been a fire in the cab and some of the wiring was singed, but it was completely repairable. It had 6 miles on it. So what did I do to the Jeep? The first thing was to take the engine, transmission, and transfer case out of the Jeep. Next, I removed the original motor mounts out of the Jeep. I bolted and welded in the new motor mounts. I needed to patch up this big hole in the firewall. I fabricated this piece of sheet metal and I riveted it in place. It makes a nice backdrop for the dual battery system. So I got rid of the old battery tray and the old AC mess that used to run across the fender well. So all of the old holes were welded up and the dents were bondoed in. On the driver's side, I got rid of the old electrical stuff. Oh, that was under the hood and then under the dash as well. I had put headers on the new engine, so we dropped it into the Jeep. It was ready to go. But I had to build a new exhaust system using all 3 of those catalytic converters that came with it. And I had to relocate some of the O-sensor ports. So I used heat tape and heat paint. It fit right in. I modified the fender well to accept a new battery tray. I used Bondo on the firewall, and the battery tray fit right in. Next, I started on the airbox for the K&N system. I fabricated this piece of sheet metal, then I had to cut this part of the fender well out to accept the new box. Left a pretty big hole in the fender well. It's kind of scary. Next, I replaced all the wiring under the hood, and I installed this grounding block. All grounds went to a common ground. I also replaced all the wiring under the dash. Then I installed the new air conditioning condenser core, as well as a new radiator. Then I mounted the new oil cooler and transmission cooler. Then I mounted this electric fan, which is controlled by the ECU. We mounted new springs and shocks onto the Jeep. There was no rust on this Jeep at all, so the job went fairly fast. I also rebuilt both of the front hubs, new bearings, new rotors, and new brake pads as well. I fabricated a larger heat shield that was going to go between the new catalytic converters and the new transmission. I was lucky to find a brand new transfer case, an NP229, just like the one that I had taken out. A former Jeep dealer had it in his garage. I had new drive shafts built, as the rear had to be shortened and the front had to be lengthened, and I replaced all of the U-joints while we were doing this. Later on, I replaced both the rear axles due to a vibration, and I upgraded the brake shoe. So what's under the hood? Everything is fully functional, including all of the emissions systems. So here's the new cold air box. It keeps the filter nice and clean. Here are the 2 batteries with a battery isolator located between them. The wiring is a little messy, but I'm working on it. And the engine sits in there nice and straight. The fan is held in by some brackets that I made. And this is what my electric mess looks like, but it's proven to be very reliable on these roads that I live on up here in Northern Virginia. So what does the interior look like? So I got rid of all the red color. I redid all the door panels and all of the armrests. Replaced all of the simulated wood trim on the inside. Covered the steering wheel in leather, as well as the seats, and that center console is from a Ford van. And I installed this digital dash that runs off an OBD2. This is the digital heater control with the 2 controls for the heated front seats. I installed this large screen radio that also has a lot of entertainment capabilities. And I had the ECM and the TCM reprogrammed to accept this tap-up, tap-down shifter. And of course it also has a backup camera capability, which comes in handy. New mats, new seat belts, and USB charging stations, front and rear, and heated seats in the back too. The back seat folds up and it's held in place by this elastic band. It's completely soundproofed in the roof and on the floor. And this is the rear passenger control for the heated seats and the USB charging. The yellow top battery runs this a DC converter. And the rear seat belts I put in shoulder harnesses, which this Jeep did not have previously. Scotty, thanks again for allowing me to feature this Jeep. I really have a lot of fun with it. It's great to drive. Thanks for watching.
Well, that was this week's video, and to have your car mod shown on my channel here, check this out. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.